So yesterday we were discussing the different security issues in a MANET, and we saw that the most important reasons for the MANET why the security issues occur is because of the dynamic topology of the MANET and due to the limited battery capacity of the MANETs. Okay, so these are the two issues that affect the MANETs, due to which various attacks could work on the MANET, like overloading or jamming. Okay, also there were other factors like lack of physical boundary, then low power radio frequency transmissions, limited computational capability of the MANET, and also the limited power supply. Okay, that is your battery. Then we saw there were some characteristics of secure ad hoc networks, like it should be available all the time, it should be confidential, it should maintain the integrity, should guarantee the authentication of a node. Also, any transaction that happens should be guaranteed. Okay, once it is sent, then the sender cannot deny the communication. So that is known as non-repudiation. So these were all the characteristics that we had seen yesterday. So today we'll go a little bit into the kind of attacks that could happen. Okay. Now most of these attacks maybe you have already studied in your computer network subject. So it will be a revision. Okay. So basically there could be two types of attacks possible. Okay. Due to the wireless nature of the MANET, and most of these attacks are based on the routing. Okay, so most of them are based on the routing of packets, but some could be based on the network connectivity. Okay, based on all this, there are basically two types of attacks that could occur. One is passive attacks. So by passive attacks we mean the kind of attacks that occur wherein there is no physical connection to the network. You're just monitoring the traffic that is flowing. Okay, or you're just snooping on the network. Those kind of networks which are just stealing the information without disturbing the network are known as passive attacks. Then the second type of attacks that could occur are known as active attacks, and in this type of attacks the intruder normally disturbs the normal functioning of the network. uh, so in this kind of attacks, the intruder will be uh, maybe already a part of the network and maybe trying to disrupt the network by doing some kind of resource consumption, some denial of service attack, and so on. Okay, it's not a silent attack in the sense that in a passive attack, the it's very difficult to identify whether some attacker is attacking because there's no physical presence as such of the attacker. Okay, the attacker is silently stealing the information by monitoring the network. Okay, or is analyzing the traffic that is flowing between the nodes. So those passive attacks are more difficult to identify, but it's possible to prevent such attacks by maybe encrypting the data. Okay, so if you encrypt your data and you transmit it, then passive attacks could be reduced. Okay, it can't be eliminated completely, but maybe those attacks could be reduced. So there are some examples mentioned here for passive attacks and active attacks. I'll be going through each one of these attacks in detail. So for now you can just read the names. Okay, the examples for passive attacks and active attacks. Just 1 second, students. Okay, so I'll continue. These are the different kind of attacks based on the layers. Okay, now in your MANET we are using 1 second. Okay, students, I'll just come back. Sorry, students. Okay, so I'll continue. So you could be asked a question: what are the different attacks that could take place at the different layers in your protocol stack? Then you need to explain based on this table that I'm sharing with you. So at the application layer, the attacks that could be possible, okay, are malicious code attack, repudiation, and data corruption. Okay. Similarly, at the transport layer, the attacks that could be possible are session hijacking and scene flooding. At the network layer, the attacks that are possible are wormhole attack, black hole attack, and fabrication attack. At the data link layer, the attack could be resource consumption. And at the physical layer, the attacks that could be possible are traffic analysis, monitoring, disruption, jamming, interception, eavesdropping. Okay, and at possibly at all the kind of layers that are possible, the attacks that are possible are denial of service attack, that is your DOS attack, impersonation, and replay attacks. Okay, now I'll be going through each of these attacks in the next slide. Okay, so you need to explain. Suppose you are asked what are the attacks possible at the transport layer, then you need to explain only these two attacks. Okay, that is, as you can see in the slide, the session hijacking and the scene flooding. Okay, so they may ask you all the attacks, or they may ask you only some of the attacks that happen at a particular layer in your protocol stack. So you need to know this table properly in order to be able to answer. I've seen questions in your question paper wherein they ask what are the attacks on the different layers. Then you need to explain all these attacks that happened at each particular layer. Okay, or they may ask you only the attacks at a specific layer, then you need to explain only those attacks. So let me start with all this explanation of the different types of attacks that are possible in your manets. So there are many types of attacks that are possible, both passive and active. Okay, so you need to know these attacks from the type of question that could be asked is what are the passive attacks, then you need to explain these four attacks. What are the active attacks, and you could give examples of these attacks. Then the same question could be asked you based on the layers. Okay, so the attacks are the same, but you could be asked two different questions. So you need to just remember the examples. Okay, so let me start by explaining to you each of these attacks. So the first type of attack that could be possible is a routing loop attack. So in a routing loop, like as you know, in a manet, there are a lot of nodes. Okay, and based on the type of algorithm that is being used for routing, each node will be having some kind of a routing table associated with it, based on which it does the routing. Okay, so suppose there are some nodes here, and say there's a packet that has been intended to some destination. Suppose this is the destination here, D, and there's a packet intended from the source to the destination. Say the route according to the packet is this. Okay, it flows along this route. So say from S to the node A, then from node A to the node B, and say from node B to the node D. Say this is the route that has been set up by the routing table. Okay, so suppose a malicious node has got, suppose this is a malicious node B. Okay, it is part of the network. So what it could do is, instead of transmitting this packet or forwarding this packet towards the destination, okay, what it could do is, it could send this packet towards this side, okay, wherein it knows that this node C will send this packet back to S. What could happen is, any packets that are sent by S towards D, okay, instead of being forwarded by the B, the node B to D, node B could, instead of stop the transmission at this point here, okay, and instead of forwarding to the original recipient, it could send the packets here. Okay, so in other words, this packet being sent by node S will keep on being routed in an infinite loop. Okay, it will keep going towards this and never reach the node D. Okay, so due to any change in the routing information, okay, instead of getting forwarded to the correct recipient, the packet may get routed along a infinite loop. So that is a routing loop attack. So what happens in such an attack is, the bandwidth is getting consumed, okay, and therefore, since the bandwidth is getting consumed endlessly, okay, it's an infinite loop. Okay, so what will happen, every time the packet is not getting delivered, the source node will retransmit that packet, but the packet will never reach the destination D. Okay, so the power of these nodes also is getting discharged, the battery is getting discharged. So this is the routing loop attack, wherein the data packets are being sent around endlessly, consuming the bandwidth, and also the battery power is getting wasted. Okay, so this is kind of a denial of service attack, DOS attack. Okay, so you need not draw diagrams for your uh, attacks while you're explaining. You could if you want, but there is no diagrams in your textbook. Okay, so you could just write the text, look at the marks. If you feel like drawing, you have time, you can always draw some diagrams and explain. The second type of attack is the malicious code attack. So in this kind of attack, a malicious node, okay, could insert a virus, a Trojan, or spyware. Okay, it could propagate all these malicious type of codes throughout a network. So the purpose of that will be, okay, to propagate all this type of codes will be to slow down or overload the network. So the basic purpose will be to just propagate some malicious code so that the network is overloaded. Okay, and the nodes slow down, and therefore eventually the network will crash. The third type of attack will be repudiation. So in this type of attack, okay, the nodes, after transmitting a packet, will deny that they had sent it. So suppose the node has sent some kind of a packet, some uh, credit card or bank transaction, some kind of packet it has dealt with, it may deny that it had participated in that transfer, in the transmission of that packet. Okay, so it denies that it has sent the packet. Fourth type of attack is your scene flooding attack. So in scene flooding, okay, basically you can look at this diagram. It is based on your TCP handshake model. So in your TCP, you know, basically when a client wants to communicate with a server using the TCP three-way handshake, it will send one packet known as the scene packet, okay, SYN. So basically in this, it is telling the server that it wants to communicate with it, and then it wants to tell what sequence number it wants to start with. Okay, so if the server is ready to communicate, it will acknowledge with the scene ACK packet. So basically it tells the client that it is ready to start the communication. So the client then acknowledges the server's packet by sending a acknowledgement. Okay, so this is how your TCP three-way handshake basically is supposed to work. Okay, but attackers have found a way of using this scene packets, okay, these scene packets, to consume the buffer in the server. So to simply overload the buffer in the server. So I'll show you in the next diagram. So what if there is an attack that is going on? Okay, so what the attacker will do is it will use this scene packet that is there in this diagram, okay, from your three-way handshake, and it will put a spoofed IP address. It won't put its own IP address. It will put one fake IP address. Normally when a scene packet is being sent, okay, the client will put its own IP address here as the source IP address, so that the server can reply to this IP address. Okay, this packet will be sent to that IP address. Whatever IP address is mentioned is the source here. But when an attack is happening, the attacker will put a false IP address in the scene packet. So it will send, suppose, the first packet. This is a scene packet that is being sent to the server. Okay, so the server will reply to that spoofed IP address, fake IP address, which is put as the source. It will send that scene ACK packet. Okay, now it is going nowhere because that IP address may or may not exist. Okay, and it is waiting for what? It is waiting now for the third part of the three-way handshake. The first part came, scene packet. It replied with the scene ACK packet, and now it is waiting for the acknowledgement to come. But that acknowledgement is not going to come because there is no IP address maybe. Okay, there's no host at that IP address, so that acknowledgement is never going to come. So the attacker keeps sending scene packets like this with a spoofed IP address. Keep sending. The only purpose of this is to overload the buffer in the server, whichever is the server it is sending request to. So eventually the buffer of that host will become full. Okay, and it won't be able to, no longer be able to do any kind of TCP handshake. So it will have to drop out, and automatically the attack will succeed. Okay, so this is what is known as your scene flooding attack. Then the next attack that could take place is session hijacking. So you know that whenever two nodes want to communicate with each other, two nodes A and B, okay, so basically they will establish the communication beforehand, maybe through a three-way handshake or any other method. Okay, so authentication only takes place at the beginning of a session. Okay, so there's no authentication once a session has been established. So once the authentication has taken place between two nodes, okay, now these are authentic nodes. A wants to send data to B and B wants to send data to A. So either they are sending or receiving data from each other. So some other malicious node could insert, once a session has been established, some malicious node M could insert itself, okay, and modify the packet of what is being sent between these two nodes so that it becomes the intended recipient. So suppose A was sending the data to B. If the packet data has been changed and the receiver's name has been set as M, instead of the packet being sent to B, the packet will start being rerouted to M. So M may be able to steal the data that was intended for B. So basically, this is what is the example of session hijacking. So the communication, the session has been established between two nodes, A and B, but M manages to change the IP address, okay, and due to which the packets that are being sent by the source get rerouted, okay, they get rerouted towards the malicious node. The M could be stealing the data from A or the session that was established between the nodes A and B. The next attack is the fabrication attack. So basically in fabrication attack, okay, to understand this fabrication attack, what happens is, suppose you are having a network setup, say like this, okay, A, B, some nodes like this, A, B and C. So whenever, now this is a network wherein is connected to B and B is connected to C. So if A wants to send data to C, okay, then it cannot send directly because C is not in the range of A. So A will forward the data to B and then B will forward the data to C. So that is how A can send the data to C. Now for some reason, either because C has moved out of the network or say C's battery power has drained out, this route gets broken. Okay, the link is broken. Then B will report that this link is broken by updating its routing table. Okay, so it will use one of those routing algorithms to update its table, and it will inform A that this route is been broken. So in future, whenever A wants to send data to C, it will know that this link has been broken. So it informs, B will inform A with a route error message. Okay, so basically the route error message will inform A that the link between B and C has been broken. So if A wants to send a packet to C, it needs to find a new route. Okay, if it's there, if that route exists, or maybe C no longer is present. So basically the message that is sent by B to A will be a route error message informing that the route link has been broken now. The route link from B to C has been broken. Okay. Now this is what happens in a normal routing protocol, wherein links get broken, okay, because the topology is dynamic or the battery of the nodes get discharged. Okay, so to inform that the links are getting broken, each node will be having a message known as a route error message to inform the other nodes that the link has got broken. Some malicious node could use this message, route error message, to falsely inform the other nodes that links have been broken. So for example, there was some route, another route, say here D and E. Okay, now E is present in the network. Okay, it is not moved out or its battery has not got drained, but say D is a malicious node. Okay, D is a malicious node. So D could simply send a route error message to A informing that this link has got broken. It's falsely informing, it's fabricating the message. It's using that route error message for a false purpose. So that is what is your fabrication attack, wherein your malicious node will use the routing message like route error message to falsely inform the sender that the link to the node, the recipient, or to another forwarding node. Suppose this was just another node. It simply falsely informs that the route has been broken, and due to which the attack has been taking place. So it's very difficult for the sender to identify that this is a false message. Okay. So this is known as your fabrication attack. Next attack is your black hole attack. So in a black hole attack, okay, what happens is, suppose there is a network route that has been set up like this. So if A wants to transmit data to D, maybe first it will send to the nearest neighbor B, B will send to C, C will send to D. Okay. Now, if C is a malicious node, okay, if C is a malicious node, then what it could do is, all the packets that are being sent by A will be received, because C is on the route. It will receive the packets, but it will no longer forward them towards D. Okay, it will not forward them towards D. It will simply drop the packets. So it will continuously drop all kinds of packets that are being sent by any node towards D. Suppose C is on the route towards D. What it will do is, it will just keep dropping all the packets towards D. So basically what happens is, the packets are entering C but are not exiting C. So just like your black hole, if you know the concept of a black hole in space, the light enters the black hole but cannot escape it. So in a similar way here, C acts as a black hole. So all the packets that are intended for D enter C. Okay, but C simply drops the packets. It does not want to forward the packets to D. So the packets are enter C but cannot exit C. So therefore this kind of attack is known as a black hole attack. Okay. A variation of this attack is known as the gray hole attack. So in a gray hole attack, what happens? It's similar to your black hole. Okay. So suppose we are having this MANET, and C is on the route to D. Okay, C is on the route to D. So A forwards the packet to B, B forwards to C. So what C will do here is, it will not drop all kind of packets. Okay, certain type of packets it will drop. It will not drop all kind of packets. So since it's only dropping a certain type of packets, so for example, it is receiving routing packets and data packets. Okay, just for example, say it receives two types of packets intended for D. Okay, one is a routing packet, one is a data packet. So it may decide to forward the routing packets but drop the data packets. So since it is only selectively dropping certain type of packets for D, that kind of attack will be known as a gray hole attack. Okay. Then let's proceed to the next attack. Next is the wormhole attack. Okay. In a wormhole attack, okay, now this is slightly against the MANET, the concept of MANETs. Okay. So according to the wormhole attack, okay, say there are some nodes like this. Okay. Say there are multiple, A wants to send the packets to D. Say there are multiple routes to D, as you can see here. Say one route is from A to B, B to D. The second route could be from A to C, C to D. Okay. So say both of these both of these routes are longer than the route from A to D directly. If it was possible to put a wire here, okay, say there was a wired connection from A to D, then say this route, this wired connection was shorter than these other two routes that were wireless. Okay, so in a wormhole attack, there is a connection. Okay, there is a kind of a tunnel that is formed between two nodes. Okay, either to a wire or through a wireless infrastructure. Wireless infrastructure means there's a modem or some other device that gives a Wi-Fi connection. Okay, so it's not an ad hoc network. So the connection between the two nodes is not exactly ad hoc. Okay, so basically, this is a it's known as a, that's why this is known as a wormhole link, a tunnel. Okay, the tunnel has been formed just like how we had discussed a tunnel that forms in the IP packet transmission in mobile IP. That way you can just imagine that a tunnel has been formed for direct communication between these two nodes. Okay, so this in this kind of attack, a malicious node could monitor these two nodes that are involved in the communication and monitor and analyze the kind of traffic that is flowing between these two nodes. Okay, and if one of these two nodes happens to be malicious, suppose A or D happens to be malicious, then maybe they could carry out a denial of service attack by dropping certain kind of packets. So again, why a wormhole link needs to be established? This link that has been established between these two is known as the wormhole link. So these two nodes could act as a wormhole nodes, because then once they get a packets, then they could transmit it to the other nodes that are part of your MANET. Okay, it could, these nodes could transmit the data. Since this is the shortest route, maybe they could use this wormhole link to transmit the data to the other nodes in the network in a faster way. So some malicious node could always try to monitor the traffic that is arriving at these two nodes in order to carry out some kind of a denial of service attack. Okay, or it could carry out eavesdropping operation, analysis of the traffic. If these nodes are malicious themselves, then they could not forward certain types of packet, okay, to the other nodes in the network. So this is basically your wormhole attack. Next type of attack is partitioning attack. So basically in partitioning attack, like you know, in a MANET, there are many nodes that are involved in the network. So basically in a partitioner attack, the attacker may decide where to partition the network, okay, so that maximum damage could be done. So it basically breaks the network into two or more halves. Okay, so basically by analyzing the topology, the attacker will break this into two or more halves, two more set of nodes, so that the network is there's a harm to the network. Okay, so basically one of the ways it could do is by using any of the previous attacks that we have studied, okay, or by tampering with the packet information, routing information in the packets, okay, or it could use some physical attack like jamming. So the attacker could use various ways to do the partitioning of the network, okay, by using more than one attack together that we have studied previously also. Next type of attack is a blacklist attack. So basically in a blacklist, the nodes involved in a MANET may decide that they already know certain types of nodes or certain nodes that are malicious. So each node decides to keep a list of the nodes that are malicious. So this kind of a list is known as a blacklist. Okay, so a blacklist will basically contain a list of nodes that are malicious. Okay, so each node could have a copy of such a blacklist. So basically a malicious node may try to include the name of a good node, okay, a non-malicious node, into the blacklist. So a malicious node may try to insert a non-malicious node name into the blacklist. So causing the other good nodes also to add that node's name to the blacklist. So this kind of attack will be known as a blacklist attack. Okay, wherein a malicious node will enter the good node or non-malicious node's name into the blacklist, causing denial of service attack then to that good node. And the last type of traffic attack, or the last type of attack on the ad hoc network, could be dropping the routing traffic. So basically in this routing, you know that in a ad hoc network, each node has to act as a router. Okay, each node has to act as a router. Then only this MANET will function properly. Okay, so any particular node in the network, if it decides that it will only deal with the packets intended for itself and not forward the packets of other nodes, okay, that is, it is dropping the routing packets of other nodes, then it may have a effect on the network. Okay, similarly, if one of the nodes was a malicious node, it may simply drop the packets of other nodes and only may deal with the packets intended for itself, and that also will be a kind of an example for this. Okay, so basically in this kind of a node, in this kind of attack, if a node is selfish, okay, and only it decides to conserve its battery, for example, okay, by selfish I mean that it decides that it wants to save its battery. Okay, so because of that, it will not forward the packets of other nodes, but only deal with the packets intended for itself, and that may be kind of a not exactly a kind of a malicious attack, but it could have an effect on the network. Okay, so basically these are the different types of commonly known attacks on your MANETs that you need to study on your ad hoc networks. Okay, there could be many more attacks that you could find, but these are the ones that have been mentioned in your textbook, and we need to study these attacks. And you need to remember these attacks from the point of this two. You could be asked a separate question also, 8-mark question. Write a short note on the different attacks on ad hoc networks. And you need to at least write 8 attacks out of this. Okay, at least write 8. If you could write all, it will be nice. But if you don't have time, I expect you to at least write 8 attacks. So at least one attack, you get 1 mark for each attack. Okay, it will be like, again I'm saying, it will be nice if you can write all, but if you don't have time, you could always write just 8. So basically, in today's lecture, I wanted to discuss about these different types of attacks. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll come to your question, Yash. So before I come to questions which Yash has put, any difficulty anyone has with respect to these attacks? Does anyone want me to repeat any of these attacks? Passive, active attacks, passive attacks. That's fine. Okay. So yeah, coming to the questions from Yash then. So I think I'll just stop the recording then, and then I'll deal with the questions from Yash.